to invite Mr. Robert Pefanis to the podium. Thank you.
Kalspera, good evening from me as well. And there couldn't be a better introduction than Rineta's presentation. I mean, it definitely covered and it definitely gave, a very good, clear point of direction about what I'm going to be talking about. And there's another part apart from that that I would like to keep from Rineta's presentation, and I'll start with that. I'll improvise, okay? In times of crisis, as you said, marketing may be the only function that can get things moving, obviously. I mean, look at our country now. We're a blessed plot of land. We have industrious people, okay? We're clever people, okay? We might not have heavy industry, but we have, Mother Nature that gives us tremendous fruits and vegetables, etc., etc., etc. And I've been around Greece the last year, to major cities and minor cities, discussing with people there about new projects, etc., etc. And I've seen that marketing has started taking place in the plans of even, a small farming unit somewhere in Epirus, okay? So what I want to say is that marketing definitely, if applied correctly, and if, as the gentleman said there, on the receiving end, the company has understood what the needs of the market are, okay, could definitely prove, I would say, a award winner, okay, in our case. So that was one thing that I wanted to mention about the excellent presentation that we saw, and also that it gave me a very good introduction to what I'm going to talk about. So, what I would like to discuss with you, and it will be highly improvised. I have a text that I could stick with, but things jump into my head as I, go on talking and discussing this with you. So the main issue that I'm going to raise with you this evening is how digital media has impacted marketing. How marketing today is much different than it was 20 or 10 years ago. So, this is one of the most popular definitions of marketing. It's a textbook definition, okay, and I'm going to go through it, I'm going to read it, okay, so we'll see how, although as a definition it remains the same, the ways that we apply what's in this definition have definitely changed. So obviously marketing is a process meaning indicating what? That it's dynamic. Marketing is dynamic, it's not static. As in the example of goodies, marketing creates needs and serves those needs, okay, and catches, if you want, the pulse of consumers, okay, so it's a process. Always keep in mind that it's dynamic, okay, and it's a process exactly of creating from the initial conception of a product or a service that's just not in the market, so from creating something to deciding how or where or through what channels it's going to be distributed, how is it going to be promoted, and how is it going to be priced. And of course, in marketing, we do not only refer to goods or services, okay, but ideas as well. Think of political marketing. Think of charities. Charities are ideas, okay? Greenpeace is an idea, but it has, I can testify on this, they have a very big marketing department as well. And why do we do all these things? The four main functions, or 4 Ps, as you will find in textbooks, is to facilitate satisfying exchanges with customers and develop and maintain favorable relationships with stakeholders in a dynamic environment. So the key word again here is dynamic. The environment is dynamic, therefore companies should apply dynamic marketing practices. something that has not changed since the early 1960s, where officially we entered the marketing orientation period, and I'll get to that in a couple of slides from here. The customer is king. It is around the customer's needs, anticipated or actual, that we create products. We create products because we know that people cannot afford the five, as you very well said, cannot afford the 4 or 5 euro burger, and they need something with 140. Okay, we anticipate what the customer wants, and accordingly, we bring it to market. To connect this with what I just said, we could historically place the origins of the marketing function not entirely in the way that we view it today, around the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution, which took place in the UK and specifically in Lancashire, around Manchester, contrary to what Marx and Engels believed. They believed that it would happen somewhere else. So initially, with the mass production of goods, the orientation of companies was to produce. I mean, the focus was produce. We'll see what we'll do with these products. Produce this, but produce millions of units of this. Later on, somewhere around the end of the First World War, the focus moved to sales. Okay, we want to create products that are not exactly the same. We want to differentiate them a bit. We want things, to use the Greek word, που είναι πιασάρικα. We want things that would sell. So the sales orientation of marketing came into practice. I'm sure that you've all heard of what Henry Ford said about the famous T-model. The T-model was the first car, actually the first product ever produced on an alυσίδα παραγωγής, as we say. Okay? So what he said is, and this is in the in-between years between the production orientation and the sales orientation, he said that do whatever you want with the T-model, he told his mechanics and his engineers and whatever, as long as it is black. So there was no differentiation in the product yet. Okay, they produced one product in vast numbers, and they would try and find markets to sell this. So there was no flexibility, okay, in terms of what? As Goodis has done 120 years later, to create something, to use the word that's a cliché, tailor-made according to somebody's needs. From the 1960s onwards, we entered the official, I would say, marketing orientation period, where the customer is at the center and we create products and services to meet the specific needs of this target group or this segment of the market. And now, this is something, a process that's been taking place the last, I would say, 5-10 years. We are moving to a new, unofficially named period of one-on-one orientation. What does this mean? As you will see later on, with all the new ways of marketing and advertising products that the digital media have brought, it is, as never before in history, easy to identify needs and even easier to identify people who need this. I'm quickly going to fast forward, as I say, and I'm going to say that I'll give you an example of this to illustrate it, to make you understand what I'm talking about. I remember when I started working in the early 90s in marketing, in advertising or whatever, finding demographic data of groups was something that just couldn't happen. It was very difficult. Fast forward to 2000, 2004, actually 2008 onwards, ourselves are providing these demographic data. And not only these demographic data, but also psychographic data. Think of your profiles on Facebook. It's there. Robert loves football, or Robert likes Panathinaikos, or Robert likes I don't know, Hellman's mayonnaise, or although vegetarian, Robert likes goodies, or whatever, okay? I've given it, it's there. I vindicated what I like. So think of this, think of what power this is in the hands of marketers, okay? People are out there. There are approximately 1.1 billion people on Facebook only that have actually given demographic and psychographic data. So they're just waiting for us to knock on their door and say, look, this is the burger for you, Robert. I mean, you're a vegetarian, you love playing football, you want something low calorie and non-meat, this is it. So I can, in this very simplistic example, I've illustrated how through the use of social media, you can actually get a very specific, tailor-made message to a very, I would say, specific target group. We'll discuss about this later on, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what the breakthrough of digital media in marketing is, in the marketing function is. So, okay, to get into a perspective about digital media, now obviously we're talking about a revolution, and it's not a cliche, guys. Some of you in the audience are in, in their early or mid-20s, and you guys found the internet at home, or found it at school, or found it at the university. Guys like me, 75 years old or whatever, okay, we found it halfway through, okay? For you guys, it's not a revolution because you found it. For us, it is a revolution. It's changed. Guys, I remember in 1994, I was working as an advertising sales executive for Tanea newspaper, okay? And, we thought that placing, for example, a full-page ad on Tanea Tis Defteras, which was a best-selling date for Tanea, was, that's it, okay? Όλη η Ελλάδα, everybody will learn about our product, and that's it. But wait a minute, full stop. How many people actually saw the ad? How many people acted upon this ad? That was irrelevant, because we could not monitor, we could not have feedback about what happened eventually to people who saw the ad, or whatever. Everything is available nowadays, as we will see. It's incredible, guys, and I've got a slide about this further on, that you can actually account even 1 cent of your advertising budget can be accounted for. We spent so much money there, so many people saw us, so many people acted, clicked, or whatever, or participated, or downloaded our Facebook app, or whatever, okay? But way back then, and it's not, light years away, it's 19 years away, we thought that placing a silly ad, okay, motionless, and mainly text-based in a newspaper was it, okay? Well, it was something way back then, okay? There was nothing like the internet. But I just want to illustrate how many, I would say, weapons a marketer has nowadays. So, obviously you've understood that I will focus the discussion that I'm going to have with you guys around the impact mainly on the promotion aspect of the marketing, on one of the four, I would say, building stones, or one of the four P's, as we say. So, this is knowledge which I would like to share with you. Maybe you won't make the connotation with what I'm going to be discussing further on, but it's good and, encyclopedic, as we say, that you know the name of this guy. In the 1960s, there was a Canadian academic, I think he was a communications chair at, I think it was McGill in Canada University. Okay, the guy was called Marshall McLuhan, and he said in a number of papers about the future of media, of communication, 3 things. And I'll go through them and you'll see that this guy most possibly traveled in time. Okay, it's as if a prophet was talking in the 1960s. One, the cost of communication would be literally zero in the near future. Keep this in mind, and I'll give you plenty of examples on this. Two, everyone will be an author and create content. Keep this in mind as well. And the third point, there will come into existence, and actually he coined this term, το παγκόσμιο χωριό, the global village, is his term of showing that it would be so easy to contact and to market and to sell something, okay, to promote something to somebody who's in Auckland, New Zealand, or Mogadishu, Somalia, as if, it was in the hut next door in our village, or whatever. So, to get back to the two first points, guys, the cost of communication would be literally zero. I'll use Facebook again, okay, but it could be Twitter, it could be Pinterest, or whatever. Starbucks, okay, to get away from goods for a bit, okay. Starbucks apparently have something like 30-something million friends in their fan page, okay, their Facebook fan page. According to what Facebook has told us, if you got it when Sophia was introducing us, the previous company I worked for was the representative of Facebook, so we got a lot of, for Greece and the Balkans, so we would get a lot of inside, knowledge and data from the Facebook team in the States. So what they told us is that make a page, a fan page, and every time you post something, okay, today is Thursday and it's a lovely day or whatever you post will be seen without paying anything, okay, by 16% of your fan base. So if I have 35 or whatever million fans in the Starbucks page, guys, what's 16% of 35 million people? It's a lot, eh? 36 or whatever, yeah, okay. It's a lot. So, in putting it into perspective, guys, Starbucks every day they post one or two items about their products or whatever, about public relations, stuff that they do or whatever, okay? And they immediately have an audience of 6,5 εκατομμύρια, 6.5 million people. So they get their message through for free. Could you imagine this? The second one, everyone will be an author and create content. In the startup that I'm working at the moment, we have a PhD guy in journalism. And what he tells us, he's handling a couple of projects. So what he tells us is that I would say οι παραδοσιακοί καναλάρχες and all, the traditional media guys, media moguls or whatever, are in deep trouble. Why? Literally, I could even make a blog of my own, okay, at no cost. Or I could use my Facebook fan page or my Twitter page to distribute information, to distribute content, okay? And what has been happening is that people, for a number of reasons, which might range from conspiracy theories that the media, are feeding us with false stories, etc., or whatever, okay, are definitely turning their backs on, I would say, the established media and going towards independent media sources. There are people following, maybe you know this guy, Pitsirikos, the blog. Well, apparently, he has something like a million followers, okay? 1 million people per month, 1 million unique users enter pitsirikos.net or whatever, okay? If we put it into perspective, guys, he talks to more people than the newspaper that I was talking about earlier, okay? So I can't identify, I can't tell you more about him. I met the guy once, and he's a hell of a guy. But he is actually a journalist. Okay, he's a former journalist or whatever. Anyway, so he's an author and he creates content. Like many of you guys, I'm sure, create content for a number of subjects or whatever. So, as we said, let me just move a bit forward. The changing media scene. If we could picture what the media scene in the West looked 90 years ago, it was print media and radio. And what it actually looks like now is what? Media that are based on the internet, IPTV, okay? Blogs, social networks, etc., whatever. So it's definitely changed. And it's definitely changed in a way that, as I said in my very opening remarks, is to the favor of people who want to get into marketing and people who want to apply, I would say, intelligent marketing practices in harsh times like these. Okay, so getting back to the promotion function, guys, I put down 6 factors that have definitely changed the promotion function. First of all, interactivity. It's well known that your customer, guys, is a click away. Okay, a customer is a click away from the company. Okay, he enters your website, he enters your fan page or whatever, and it's as if he's actually entering the store, or if he's entering your offices or whatever. Okay, so interactivity, but interactivity on the side of not only the user towards the company, but vice versa. You can engage in dialogue online with your customers, okay, and many other issues like that. The second point, guys, customers nowadays can be reached literally 24 hours a day. I mean, from the moment that mobile telephones evolved and we have, literally whatever applications I can have on this laptop, I can have through my mobile phone, through my iPhone, okay? You have access to customers, to potential customers 24 hours a day. Regarding the mobile phone, I'll drop in some statistics that are, I think are breathtaking. Apparently, in the West, and I mean the US, the Americas, and Europe, our mobile phone, apart from our wedding rings, guys, is the item that we have that we hold closer than which other item around us. There is a tremendous percentage of people that sleep, when they go to sleep, they have the closest thing to them is what? Their mobile phone. So there it is, okay, 24-hour access. But of course, there's the downside of what? Of, especially I see this with young people, okay, the obsession with mobile phones is such that you walk into a cafe and there are, couples of young people, girls and boys or whatever, and nobody's talking to each other, and they're just doing this, okay? So, there is a negative side, but whatever. Okay, the third, as I said, in the case of having full demographic record and psychographic records of people, of clients, of potential customers, all marketing today is data-driven because we have adequate data on which we could use in order to focus on specific customers or people or target groups or niche target groups. Social media and blogs. Okay, we've been I've discussed this on and off. Creativity and convergence. Convergence, guys, is what's happening nowadays with YouTube and television. I mean, who watches television exactly? It was discussed earlier. Who actually watches television? How do I know that when Robert is watching Champions League and halftime takes place and there are companies showing their TV commercials and they've spent God knows how much money. Okay, who knows if Robert is not in the kitchen, making a sandwich or he's gone to the loo or whatever. Okay, we don't know. But on YouTube, we know the data that we could get for the same thing, okay, for the screening of a TV commercial, if we compare screening it on YouTube and screening it on television, I can have data on how long the user actually was watching the video on YouTube, whether he paused, whether he watched throughout the duration, the 80-second duration or whatever, etc., etc. I don't have this data for television. So what eventually is going to happen, and we're witnesses of this, is that all these are going to converge. And that in the pie chart that we saw earlier, obviously everything will be internet based. Okay, even radio, television, etc., etc. So just put bits and pieces connected to the points that I just mentioned. Multitude of digital touch points, as we said. Data-driven marketing. We have segments. We can reach, even a segment of an audience of 10 potential buyers or whatever. Data-driven marketing. We can follow the route that users do on the web, and we can, as an example, we can serve a banner campaign that is of interest to them, even if they're in watching a site that's irrelevant to our products. This is called remarketing, and it's for people that are in marketing or thinking of getting into marketing, it's really I think a breakthrough. What happens is, and I'll give you a very silly example. Suppose that I'm planning on going to France or whatever, okay? And I enter, I've made a screenshot here of Norwegian.com Airlines or whatever. I've entered the website and I've focused on, going to flying to Paris or whatever. With retargeting, what happens is that after a while, when I'm on sport.gr watching, sports or whatever, a banner will appear showing exactly the article that I was interested in. It's called retargeting, guys. It's as if somebody is reminding you that, look, hey Robert, you were interested a few minutes ago in flying to Paris. Now you're in a totally different environment, but we know you're interested in this, so we're serving it to you, okay? And a week later, okay, when I'm I'm on in.gr or whatever reading the news, that banner can be served again, okay, with a different message, a message that says special prices to Paris for the next week or whatever. I mean, if that isn't the apotheosis, to use the Greek word, of marketing and flexibility, I don't know what is. Okay? So, earlier I talked about having a grasp and total accountability of budgets, because we know on the internet we know where every penny, every cent went, and we know if it actually if we got our money's worth. What is interesting and has brought to surface something that I first read in the late 80s when I was studying. Actually, I studied at Diri as well, so we've got something in common. Yeah, I remember in Philip Kotler's book, Principles of Marketing, there was this. There were these two terms that we find have actually resurfaced now, mainly due to social media. The first one was word of mouth. Word of mouth. I remember examples. I don't remember. I'm lying. Actually, I went back and found the old book and went through it and saw examples of what word of marketing meant way back then. Word of mouth meant 20 odd years ago. And word of mouth was that you were having coffee with some friends, to illustrate it in a very simple way, and somebody said, "Re, File, I just saw the new BMW or whatever. It's really smashing, and you should go and test drive it or whatever." That was word of mouth back then. Nowadays, the dialogue might be the same, but the medium is different. Okay? Somebody drives the BMW or whatever, 2013, and he posts it. Okay, and all his friends see that John or David or whatever drove the BMW, και είναι φοβερή φάση ρε φίλε. Okay? That's word of mouth. So word of mouth is one of the terms that has resurfaced. And the second one is opinion leader. I remember when I actually bought my first car, in my first new car, okay, I was around 28 or whatever. I think 28 when the year I got married, okay. So one of the first people that I went to ask for advice was my father, okay. My father loves cars, you know. I know that he's driven a lot, etc., etc. So he was the opinion leader in this case, along with a second guy, and the second guy was the Garagieris, you know, down the road. Why? Because the guy that owned the garage in my neighborhood would serve so many cars, okay, would know first-hand experience ότι τα Skoda είναι για πέταμα, ότι, you know, Seat is forget it, ξέχασε το whatever. Okay, so these two people were, you know, the opinion leaders. The same thing is happening again through social media. If they know, for example, that I won't talk about, you know, the professional field or whatever. If people know that I'm Panathinaikos, for example, okay, whenever they want to ask something about Panathinaikos, you know, silly example, they'll most possibly they'll ask me, they'll post something, you know, Robert, you know, this or that or whatever. Okay, opinion leader. So word of mouth, opinion leader. And as this guy, Scott Cook, Procter & Gamble board member, said, this is actually, I've copy-pasted this from a Facebook presentation, a brand is no longer what we tell the consumer it is, we the company, okay? It is what consumers tell each other it is. Exactly, word of mouth. Skoda, okay, ξέχνα το, Seat, you know, καλό, or whatever. This is it. And there are existing platforms where we can do this nowadays. Okay, I'll skip these. Okay, obviously, the guy that founded, one of the founding members of Facebook, has, you know, beliefs, and we're actually we're witnessing this, that more and more we tend to share not only, you know, I would say trivial stuff, but we've started sharing, you know, πώς το λένε, συναισθήματα, βαθιά συναισθήματα. If you see the posts, I mean, if you see the progress of the tone of posts, it's incredible. You know, people are posting feeling, you know, feeling good, or, you know, feeling pessimistic or whatever. You know, so it's you know, our ancient ancestors would say that, you know, ta ενίκο μη ενδύμω. But there it is that people are posting, you know, their status, their psychological status. You know, it's as if, you know, we are craving for what? For you know, people to know the state we're in. You know, it's there are a lot of people, and although, you know, I make my money out of social media, etc., and the internet, but, you know, there are people who are starting to think that, you know, it's gonna be too far. Okay, because if Elenitsa broke up with her boyfriend, I mean, does she have to post it? You know, I don't know. But then again, guys, there's nothing. You know, every appliance, every whatever can have a good use and a bad use. So, you know, it's kind of self-regulatory. Δηλαδή, μόνοι μας θα βρούμε την κατάλληλη χρήση for social media or whatever. Okay, I mean, there are a couple of you guys already asleep, so I'll go to the very interesting. Yeah, okay, just keep this statistic in mind. It has to do, and it's connected to what I was saying about word of mouth, etc., etc. 75%, guys, of online consumers are willing to recommend a company due to outstanding service or product experience. If I go to Goodies and I have a really good lunch, most possibly I'll post it, and I'll say, you know, Foursquare, Goodies, Kalandriou, you know, super my burger lunch or whatever. okay? A testimonial, and actually an unbiased testimonial, because it's me. I feel like doing it in a kind. It's something spontaneous, okay? Okay, I've been through this. I've been through this. Social media tips. Sophia, can I ask something? Is the audience? Can they find? Are we going to be posting them?
Another 5 minutes for you to finish before we proceed.
Okay, I was thinking something else. Will they have access to the presentation?
If you want them to,
yeah.
yes.
Okay. Because I've spent a lot of time doing this, so there's a lot of data that you'll find interesting, to apply in your profession or whatever. Okay, so just a few statistics to wrap it up. Okay, now today's reality in Greece regarding Facebook, because Facebook, as I said, is 1.1 billion users globally. Okay, a tremendous marketing tool for a number of reasons. I've been through them. Okay, now άλλη μια πρωτοτυπία της Ελλάδος, έτσι. 200 friends on average per Greek user. This is far more. In some cases, it's double the average of Western and Northern Europe numbers. The average French, if I remember, has 125 friends. The average Portuguese has 80 friends. Okay, but there we are. I think we've got the largest number of friends. Definitely in Western and Central and Southeast Europe. Okay, I think we're even ahead. Yeah, we're from the Americans. A lot of friends. But then again, this is it. It's a climate. Greeks are more social, etc., etc. So up to a point, you can say that definitely, social media and the usage of social media follows, the temperament, the temperamento of, each people. Okay. 4.1. And finally, what I was saying and to connect it and to conclude this presentation about, not spending money to communicate with audiences. Now, brands can have a voice for free, as we said. I've actually copy-pasted L'Oreal's Facebook page, but there you have it. We talked about Starbucks, we talked about the fact that they post something and immediately 16% of 35 million people see it, okay? It's literally free. So what I'm trying to say, and to connect it to the fact that yes, okay, things are more than black, it's pitch black at the moment, okay? But definitely there are opportunities out there, and definitely if you're thinking of there is unemployment, it's difficult to find a job or whatever. If I was, in my early 20s, okay, with all the tools that we have in our hands, which are literally, guys, free, I would give it a try. I would say, let me, I've got friends in the village that make marmalade. I'll build a Facebook page and see if I can promote this. I'll find people. Okay, I'll advertise this page to people in Luxembourg and Zimbabwe or whatever that would like marmalade, and there it is, for free. So I would say that on the one hand, the situation is bad, the situation is tight, but on the other hand, the tools that somebody either working as a marketing professional or as in a startup mode and in his early 20s can definitely, you can start something, and it's much more easy than what it used to be. Okay, guys, so I hope you enjoyed it, and since I see a lot of young faces in the audience, we'll get over it. Things are bad, obviously, but as you said earlier, we can do nothing. What happens if we do nothing? Delirious. But we can do something. Okay, we might fail, but at least we did something. After. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert.
And keep in touch, and if you want to drop a line, there it is, robert@literati.gr. Question time.
Questions for Robert, please?
It's €10 per question.
I have one, but I'm not going to pay you.
Actually, well, I think we have some in
Okay.
the audience first,
Yes.
and Sophia will come to you.
Stavros.
Please, yeah.
Even if I'm not a marketing person,
Yeah. I'm not a marketing person.
I'm not a marketing
Joking.
person. I have a question that arose right now.
Okay.
Of course, through the digital media, you can reach millions of people and do the marketing you wish to do. But
I would say it's the promotion.
the promotion.
Promotional.
Okay.
The